Detective Mira Lawson reviewed the footage again, frame by frame. The second silhouette, the one following Lily, moved with hesitation, as though unsure of its own path. The flashlight beam shook, not from the wind, but from unsteady hands. When the image was digitally enhanced, a faint reflection glinted near the figure's wrist, a metal bracelet engraved with initials. M.L. Lawson didn't wear jewelry on duty, not anymore. But she had once, the same year the Internal Inquiry erased her brother's case file. The realization struck her not as shock, but as memory. She had been on Echo Ridge before, 2 years earlier, searching for a body that was never found. The location was identical. The same pattern of bent guardrail, the same hollow in the soil. That case had been sealed, no remains, no crime. She hadn't forgotten the coordinates. Now she was staring at evidence that suggested she had been there again on the night Lily Cole vanished. But how? The department database showed no record of her movements between 1:30 and 3 o'clock a.m. that night. Her vehicle's GPS had been disabled. The key card used to access the evidence room had been logged in her name at 2:41 a.m. The exact minute the dashcam feed ended, either someone was framing her, or she had done something she couldn't remember. For the first time in 15 years, Lawson hesitated to submit her findings. She knew the chain of custody, she knew protocol, and she knew that if she turned in the footage, her name would be attached to evidence that placed her at a crime scene she was supposed to be investigating. Not haunting, but withholding it meant obstructing justice again. The choice wasn't between truth and deceit anymore. It was between losing her career or proving a father's guilt with evidence that might also destroy her own. The moral line she had sworn to protect began to dissolve. Because if the second figure really was her, then the question wasn't what happened to Lily. It was what Lawson had gone back there to hide. The next development came quietly, a background scan from the wildlife camera. The tech division uncovered residual frames the main feed had overwritten. It revealed a third figure, smaller, lighter, standing behind the tree line, holding what appeared to be a second phone. The face was obscured, but the outline was familiar. It matched Lily Cole. She was alive, at least in that moment, which meant one of two things. Either David Cole was innocent, or Lily was never the victim at all. Lawson ran the recovered GPS data again. The movement logs from Lily's phone, the eastward trail after 2:19 a.m., didn't end at the cliff. They continued down a service path that led to the same valley where the detective's brother had vanished years earlier. That connection was never coincidence. The realization rewired everything. Lily's disappearance wasn't an isolated act of violence. It was a reconstruction. Someone was repeating a pattern Lawson had spent years trying to forget. The message that never sent, "If I don't come back, tell them to check the ridge," no longer sounded like a warning. It sounded like instruction. For someone specific. For her. That was when Lawson found the second message buried inside the encrypted cache of Lily's reset phone. A draft never sent, time-stamped at 2:28 a.m. It read, "You don't have to protect him again." The pronoun was ambiguous, but Lawson understood exactly who it meant. Her brother's death, the missing evidence, the deleted surveillance record. It had all begun on that same ridge, with another man who had claimed to be saving his child. The past had returned not as memory, but as mimicry. She wasn't investigating repetition. She was part of it. That night, she rewrote her report. The official version omitted the bracelet, the additional figure, and the message draft. Instead, she stated that the second silhouette could not be conclusively identified. She chose silence, but silence, in her case, was confession. And from that moment forward, the Echo Ridge file was no longer a story about guilt. It was about inheritance, of lies, of fear, of the desperate things people do to protect What's already lost? Case file number 092, update, investigator, conflict of interest suspected. Internal affairs notified. File access restricted. The truth was no longer what happened to Lily Cole. The truth was who wanted her to disappear, and why the detective needed her gone just as much as her father did. The official report closed 32 days after the incident, cause of disappearance, and determined. Primary suspect, released without charge. Detective of record, reassigned pending review. Case file number 092 was archived under insufficient evidence, a category meant for cases that resist closure, where fact and perception refuse to align. But something about the paperwork didn't align either. The case signature, the final line in the file, wasn't Lawson's. It was typed, not handwritten, and dated 2 days after she was officially removed from duty. The signature read, L. Cole. Department assumed it was clerical error. The document was scanned, digitized, and forgotten. 2 weeks later, a new file arrived anonymously at the precinct. No return address, no note, just a flash drive inside a plain envelope marked Echo Ridge 2:37 a.m. On it was the full, uncut wildlife camera footage, not the cropped segment that had circulated before. The first 45 seconds showed nothing unusual. Tree branches, wind distortion, a passing car, then movement, 3 figures, as before. But this time, the sequence continued. The smaller silhouette, presumed to be Lily, paused near the edge of the ridge. She turned, said something inaudible to the taller man behind her. He stepped closer. She stepped back, the flashlight beam shook. Then another figure entered frame from the opposite side, a woman, face obscured by the camera's grain. The girl raised her hand, pointing toward the woman, not the man. The wind carried fragments of her voice. You said you'd help me? Then it's static. The footage resumed 15 seconds later. Only the father remained, kneeling near the cliff, his hands pressed into the soil as if searching for something already gone. He looked toward the camera once, not startled, not afraid, but in recognition. He mouthed a word. The resolution couldn't capture it clearly, but lip readers would later claim it was again. The file ended at 2:37 a.m. The timestamp matched the moment the dashcam in his car had gone black, and the moment Lawson's key card was logged into the evidence room miles away. To simultaneous entries, to locations. One impossible overlap, which meant either the data had been falsified or someone had learned how to move through time the way guilt does, not forward but in circles. Internal Affairs reopened the file. Lawson was questioned but never charged. The footage was analyzed, debated, dismissed, and finally sealed again under investigative irregularities. As for Lily Cole, no remains were ever recovered. But on November 3rd, at 2:37 a.m., a call was placed from her deactivated number. The destination, Lawson's private line. The call lasted 17 seconds. No voice, just the sound of wind. The tower ping placed the origin less than a kilometer from Echo Ridge. The department labeled it a technical glitch, recycled signal data from an old SIM. But Lawson didn't believe in ghosts. She believed in evidence, and sometimes evidence doesn't vanish, it waits. Case file number 092 status. Reopened. New note added the 3rd of November 2025, source unknown. You don't have to protect him anymore. Case closed, but the footage recovered on November 3rd suggests otherwise. If you've reviewed the footage and the transcripts, your assessment becomes part of the record. Did you see something investigators missed? Post-incident analyses remain open under public observation protocols. Submit your theory in the comment log below. Every verified insight is cross-referenced for the next release, because some case files connect. Sometimes the missing pieces aren't on the ridge. They're with the people still watching. End of case file number 092, the Cliffside Incident. To access the next file, subscribe to the channel. Redacted entries will be unsealed in order.